Hey guys, this is Clay. Welcome back to the SEL. So today I decided we would look at the Lionel 2023 Volume 2 catalog. I decided to kind of give myself some time to kind of look over it on my own before I did my video on it, so that way I kind of would have some opinions to discuss. So let's get started with some Legacy Steam offerings. So from what I've heard, this should be a really good engine. The Chesapeake and Ohio F-19 Pacifics. From what I can gather with my admittedly limited knowledge in scale items. This item being $1,300, and that's MSRP. That's before dealer discounts. This should be a steal of an engine. Lionel could probably easily sell these things for closer to 16, maybe even 17. It'd still be a decent deal. So we have a few offerings here. I like the Sportsman. If I had to get one, it would be the Sportsman, because we have a few other offerings here. Chesapeake and Ohio with a Burke style tender, the Vanderbilt tenders, the Halloween and Christmas themed that Lionel has been offering in past catalogs. Some other options in the C&O, Pierre Marquette and the RF&P, or R and FP. Yeah, RF. I was right first time. RF&P, and obviously the George Washington. So I do like the George Washington. I like the placard on the back with the name. I like the C&O, but if I were to get this one, I would feel, obligated to get the cars to go with it. So if I was to get one out of this offering, I'd get the Sportsman so I could have a decent engine, because I do like the C&O on the tender. I like the Vanderbilt style tender, but I don't want to spend all that money on passenger cars on top of the engine. So if I were to get one, I'll get the Sportsman. So we'll see what happens. But moving on to the 2662, and with the Western Maryland having one operating for excursions, it's no surprise that Lionel has offered this. So we have a few options here: the Denver Rio Grande, Nickel Plate Road, Northern Pacific, Norfolk and Western, and Waiter House. And then obviously we have the Western and Maryland version with the passenger cars. Cool model. I like it. It looks kind of cool, but not for me. Now the consolidations. I have one of these. I have an unlettered version that was a custom run from Mr. Muffin's Trains, and it is a fantastic model to start your legacy collection with, because I mean it was my first legacy model, and I was blown away making the jump from Lion Chief 2.0 to this. So we have a few options here: the Black River and Western, the Colorado and Southern, DMI and R, Grand Trunk Western, Lehigh Valley, and Seaboard Air. I do like the color combination here. It's an interesting shade of green and red. We'll have to see if the colors are accurate. And I do like the addition of the snowplow here. I'm interested to see if Lionel sells those separate, because even though it would be not at all prototypical for what I have in mind for my layout, being from the south where we get zero snow, it would have to be more of a dirt road plow for me. But yeah, I would be interested to see if Lionel sells those separately, because I might pick one up for the heck of it. I don't know. We'll see. Now the M1, that's a kind of a interesting looking locomotive. I do like the long tenders because it just looks a little more proportional to me, I guess. I mean, I know it's accurate for these to have run with smaller tenders, but I just think it looks a little, to me, that looks a little strange for an engine of that size to run without a tender of a proportionate size. But it's Pensy. That's prototypical. So I do like the road number specific details. I've noticed that Lionel seems to be doing this a little more often, which I think is kind of cool. But the M1 is also not for me. I don't have 72-inch curves. I have 054. The widest I have is 064, but I will not be going for either of any of these. Now I'm torn here on the FEFs. I do want one. I've got a buddy who has one in HO, and when I heard that these were going to be in the catalog a few days before it came out, I was really excited because I thought, oh, cool. I could have one in O and he has one in HO, and we'll be able to kind of compare the two. But I am not as excited about that price tag. So I think on that alone, I may have to wait until I'm in a little bit better spot to purchase one of these. And I also can't run it because it's 072. I'm sure it would run on 064 with it being only a few inches smaller than that. It may not be 100% happy, but I could probably get away with it. But then I'd have to get passenger cars and aux tenders and all that stuff. So I may just wait until, I don't know, I feel like I'd want to have space to actually let this engine run the way I would want it to be able to. And right now I just don't have the space or the layout to do any of that. So I'll just have to wait until next time. Maybe I can pick up previous run one, a previous run one from the past at a cheaper price. I don't know. I do eventually want to have a FEF as well as a big boy in my collection in the future, but as for now, I'll have to stick with my smaller engines. I do really like the Greyhound version here. This is actually pretty close to the version my buddy's got. It's a different number, but and we also have the hot dog offering that Lionel likes to do with the UP. I do kind of like the fantasy scheme here. It's an interesting color combo, but and I also like the other Greyhound option up here. But if I had to get one, I would get 844 because that's the one that's running now. So, and speaking of aux tenders and passenger cars, here are some aux tender offerings. Both. So this is we have one with sound and one without sound. So, according to Lionel, even though it looks like a graphic on here, this is supposed to be a separate piece. So, for those of you that were wondering, oh, it looks like a graphic, so it's not accurate. No, from what Lionel says, this should be a separate piece. So, rest assured that this is supposed to be accurate. And these are passenger cars from when the FEF was in service, which is why they're not the standard excursion colors, but according to Lionel anyway, you could run these with either the any of the Union Pacific cars and it still be technically accurate. So moving on to legacy diesels. So the SD50s I think are kind of interesting. I'm kind of considering it because I don't have any NS in my fleet yet. I do have the Central Georgia H15, which I guess technically falls under Norfolk Southern because of them owning the NS, but they weren't owned by NS yet whenever those were in service in real life. So, I mean, whenever I run it with my NS stuff, but I still eventually want to have some NS motive power in my fleet. So this is a maybe, but there are some. If this catalog is to be believed and if Lionel is to be believed, there are some other options that will be coming down that I will get to shortly here that I'd rather have. So I do like the options here: Conrail, the Reading, the Northern, Missouri Pacific, Rio Grande, and Chessie. But let's move on to the next page here. So this has me excited and nervous at the same time. So according to according to Lionel, that they're going to roll out the NS Heritage Fleet for those of us who have missed out on past runs, which has me very excited to have the Central Georgia ES44 and the Savannah Atlanta SD70. So I'm hoping these are rolled out slowly so that way I can actually afford to get more than just those if I choose to. Like if I was to get one from here, I would maybe consider the New York Central because I have a Dreyfuss Hudson on order in some of the passenger cars. But we'll see which one if I end up going with any. Like I said, I'm definitely getting the Central Georgia and the Savannah Atlanta when they are released. But as for now, if I had to get any of them, it would probably be the New York Central just because of the stuff I have that's coming in later. Oh, and they also have non-powered versions of these too. If you wanted to get a non-powered version that you didn't necessarily want it to lead your consist, but you still wanted it. The GP30s. I do kind of like the smaller options here. This is something I could potentially use as a short freight engine, maybe, I don't know, but there aren't any really road names that I'm interested in. I do kind of like Santa Fe because of the history of Santa Fe with me personally. But I mean, I kind of like them, but no road name that jumps out to me. The F7AA and B units. I do like the Blue Bonnet here. If I was to get one, it would be this one because of just the interesting color contrast. But once again, really not anything for me. The Super Base units are back, and I think there are some other diesels that have the Super Base. It should be the SD50s have Super Base options as well. And I want to get a Super Base someday, but like I said, I don't have any diesels in my fleet yet that would necessitate having one. So maybe when I get a few mainline power like an ES44 or SD70 or something like that, where I have multiple powered units that I could lead a consist with, then maybe I'll get a super base of an accompanying engine type just to have that extra oomph of sound that I keep hearing about. I've heard nothing but good things about the super base units, so I'm kind of excited to get one eventually. So we have more F7 sets here. I do kind of like the interesting Rock Island pairing here, where it's kind of mismatched. I feel like that's kind of cool, but yeah, still nothing quite for me, and I feel bad for my buddies who are interested in the Great Northern here because if it were me, I would want the whole set too. Thankfully, I'm not into Great Northern, but yeah, I feel bad for my buddies who are. So the Alco S2s, these are kind of cool. I really like the paint schemes offered here. I really like the NASA one. I think my buddy Carmine at Figures to the Mall has driven this specific engine. It may look a little bit different than what's here, but I think he has driven that engine. Yeah, I do like this the SIRT version here too. I like that paint scheme. Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway set. I think this is an interesting set with the pairing of the engine and the passenger cars and the caboose. But once again, that's something I myself am particularly interested in. We have a S7 Western Pacific set and a M1 set. I do like that this comes in the AA unit, a sound car, and the trailer car, as well as the set down here. I do like those, but once again, not really anything that I myself am particularly interested in. The American Orient Express. It's kind of interesting that Lionel is offering this. This is from what I understand, and I could be completely wrong about this. Um, the actual train, I don't think was very successful. I think I remember watching a video on it on YouTube about how it was meant to emulate the actual Orient Express, but just something over here for us in the States. But I seem to remember, like I said, again, I could be completely wrong about this. It didn't run for that long, but I do think it's an interesting offering, and maybe that means that Lionel is kind of testing the waters with um, European offerings. So we may see some stuff like, I don't know, some scale steam coming from the European side. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what comes out of the potential success of this set. I would love to see some scale European offerings from Lionel. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but we'll see what happens. So we have some passenger cars here. The Phase 3 modern station sounds dome car. I think that's actually really cool. If I wasn't planning on building the Palmetto um, with my Amtrak engine that I have here, I would definitely consider getting this. Um, but I also have the Southern MOW PO car and the same for the Union Pacific, and we have the training cars that they used for classes for training on the railroads, and it plays class sounds, which I think is actually really cool. And it's a unique sound set from Lionel. I would be interested to hear what the sound set actually is. So we'll have to see. I kind of like the Pinksy one at the bottom because that would be something I could use in a Norfolk Southern passenger train potentially. So we'll see. And we have PS5 gondolas. We have the Area 51 that Lionel has been doing, which I think is kind of funny. We have the Bethlehem, and we have U.S. Army, Reading, Pittsburgh, and Lake Erie, and the graffiti version. Yeah, I watched the live stream today from the Lionel catalog, and they said the other side is unique. They just didn't have the space to put it here in the catalog. Double sheet boxcars. I think my Strasbourg buddies are going to be excited about these two. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this one is one of the ones that's out there at Strasbourg. I mean, this one obviously says Strasbourg on it, so they will probably get that one. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this one's out there at Strasbourg too. But we have Patriot Sounds boxcars, which are supposed to be World War II themed sound sets. That should be pretty interesting. We have one for each branch that had cards out there, and we have the poster ones. Those you should also have a pretty interesting sound set too. And now we have the World War II poster car 3-packs. I have some buddies that are interested in these too, so if you're looking to collect these, I believe Lionel is going to be rolling these out slowly so that way you actually have a chance to afford to collect all of them. I think they said they recommended doing these and then between each set of 3, putting one or a few of these in between to that way you space out your sounds, which I think is kind of a cool idea. And then you have the composite 2-bay hoppers with 2 3-packs and a single, so you have 7 cars in total. So that should be a pretty good deal for $240. You get 3 cars, so for $500 you get 6 cars. That's not bad, at least in my opinion. I don't know. Y'all might have differing opinions on that, but I don't know. I mean, that seems kind of decent to me, considering passenger cars can be more expensive than that. And then you have the same for these PS2. We have a 3-pack and a single car offering. Once again, $250 for a 3-pack. That's, in my opinion, that's a decent deal. And then we have the single sheath box car and the standard O box cars. Once again, not quite a lot that I'm myself interested in, but maybe some of y'all are out there interested in some of these. And then the final offerings here for the scale options, we have some John Deere offerings. Once again, nothing that I absolutely have to have, but I think it's kind of cool that you have your three main or real road name offerings, and then you have a John Deere option. That's kind of cool. And then you have a billboard style sheath box car here that would look good with your billboard reefer trains. And even though it's not technically a reefer, it would still look pretty good along with the rest of them. So yeah, I think that's all I kind of wanted to talk about today with the catalog. Like I said, not a whole lot that I myself am interested in. If I had to get anything out of this catalog, it would probably be the Sportsman here and maybe one of the offerings for the Norfolk Southern Heritage fleet. I'm not really interested in any of them except for the Savannah, Atlanta, and the Central Georgia, maybe the Southern. But I kind of would like to have a few of the standard Norfolk Southern engines as well. And I also wouldn't be opposed to the, I know it's not Norfolk Southern, but the CSX 911 unit, because I've actually seen that unit in real life, as well as the 1776 unit. CSX is also rolling out their own heritage engines, so maybe we'll start seeing some of those from Lionel in the future. Maybe not this next coming catalog at the beginning of January, but maybe in this catalog next year we'll see some CSX heritage units rolling out. So yeah, not a whole lot for me in this catalog, but there are a few things I may consider getting. But what about you guys? Let me know in the comments what y'all think, and what y'all want to get. So thanks for watching the video. Thanks for liking and subscribing. I appreciate all the comments and likes and subscriptions that I've seen over the last few months. And thanks for stopping by the SEL today, guys. See y'all.